So this is our whole color palette we're going to use and the supplies we're going to use to make this wreath. So grab your fishtail ferns and we will do those first. Now you also need a little Spanish moss to cover up the mechanics, and we'll have our glue pot right here close by. With the fishtail fern, what I like to do is just go ahead and push these up a little so you get about 5 inches down here, and then just cut that down to 2. Just like in design school, I walk you through step by step. I'm going to show you today so you can easily prep your greenery for your wreath base. And I'm just pushing that up, and we'll trim it 2 inches on this. You guys, 26 years experience creating wreaths and selling them helps me show you how to make things quickly and efficiently, whether you want to make them for your home or you want to come join us in business coaching and learn how to become a seller as well. Either way, I'm going to show you step by step how to create. Greenery is going to, what we call set the perimeter. So I'm going to start to put where I want my tallest piece to be, and then I'm going to work back from there. And when we're going in the grapevine, I've got a lot of glue on there. Anytime you can see the glue, you're going to come in and add some Spanish moss to it. Okay, I'm just going to get a little moss ball, and that helps secure it in there really nicely and holds the glue in place. I'm going to keep working back towards the center. And then we're going to talk about the direction change. So when you get to a certain point on your wreath, you're going to have a direction change in which things are going to come down. We call that the transition point. So you've got to think about that on your piece when you get ready to shift. All right. So we're still going up right now, but I think my transition is going to work right around here. And if that's the case, what I'm going to do is keep working down, and then I'll switch direction. Okay. So just give that a little rotation. And now we're going to do the same thing. Repeat the process that we have up above the transition right here below. Okay, so this is repeating that. You get the drift, but this is the kind of things I teach you in design school step by step with each project and each season. And then you have an access to a database when you first join of 24 videos. And after you've been here 6 months, then we give you access to the whole portal, which is over 250 videos now of step-by-step instruction. And they all have clickable supply lists where you can add those things right to your cart and immediately get the supplies you need to make what we're making. Okay, you see I'm working on the bottom half of the transition, so I'm just coming in down here. We're going to rotate that. That's right where our transition point is, or our bow zone. So you can see these are all identical placement. Those two, those two, those two. So now I need to do this one, which is right here. So when you set that perimeter of the greenery, it really, really helps you be able to know exactly where everything's going to go, and you've got a nice symmetry going. Even though we're just working on one side of a wreath, there's symmetry involved because these match these, if that makes sense. Okay. So now let's go on and grab our next supply we need to put in, which is our big floral bush. This big honker floral bush has to go in next. And I am going to keep this greenery. It's a little bit more olivey, but I think it looks pretty in contrast. So push it up by the leaves. Just push each one of those up. And then we're going to trim these off to about 5-inch stems so we can give them a little bit of motion. So just start to trim them all off, the whole bush. Now you need to collect them and kind of collate them into colors, because we need to know exactly how many we have of each color. So here's the coral burgundy ones. Here's the cream ones. These are fillers right here. These are just greeneries. A little cream hydrangea. There's a couple of those in there. There's another filler. So you know that you want to be able to make 2 clusters for the top and 1 cluster for the bottom. So if I do that, I can just go like this. I can separate them right out. And we know we can do 2 clusters for the top and 1 for the bottom. And then one can have the cream bud and 1 can have the white bud. And these are a little bit more floral, so we'll have 1 at the top right here, 1 at the bottom here, and then we'll save this one for the additional top one, and we'll mix it with a hydrangea. So you're going to make your own little clusters. Now you don't have to take and use a pick machine or anything like that. I don't teach you to use that. I like to keep it super simple and eliminate steps in the process. So we're going to make our cluster on the wreath. Okay, so here we go. We're going to bring our big peony in first and just bend that head up. Right beside it, I'm going to go more to the inside with the coral. Right here, beautiful. And then our bud can, or this one's going to have, this one's going to have the hydrangea. The hydrangea can back a little bit behind. So you're making your own little cluster right here when you put it on, okay? Look how beautiful. And oh, so elegant and pretty already. Now get in there with your moss. We got to cover any of that glue that we've just used. If you've got an opening in your wreath where the gap is a little loose when you put it in, you might use a little more moss to hold it in place. Okay, our first cluster's in. Now we're ready for cluster number 2, right around here. And we've got them laid out over here to the side. So we're going to put it in also. And I'm going to take and give that stem a little bend. And we're going to go right in here. Okay, beautiful. Number 1's going in. And let's put number 2 right beside it. And I'm going into the glue right next to me. Beautiful. And then we're going to put number 3 right here. And this one has the bud. Isn't that pretty? And then those are nicely clustered together. That's important that they're staying clustered for the whole design that we're creating. Okay, now let's come down here to the bottom. Below the transition, we've got our last cluster here. And I'm going to place it in also. And it's going to go a little bit. We're leaving a little space in here in case you want to put a bow. If you don't want to put a bow, you could just place the flowers tighter to the center. Every time I do a tutorial in design school, I give a stopping point because sometimes you might want to stop because of your budget. If you're a seller, what is my end price I want to have this at? If I put more, it's going to elevate it to a new price range, that type of thing. Or you're just your budget for your client or your particularly personal budget. So I've got 2 above the bow zone and 1 below. You can see the symmetry still kind of continues. And I've got a line working down the middle, and that's exactly what I want. So now it's time to grab our next greenery. This is going to be our filler. It's going to fill in between all of those. We're going to cut this right down into sections, and we're going to use this in between. This one, you can trim it down shorter if you want, or you can go leave it long like I'm going to use it, okay? But you do got to give those some motion. You got to make them moving up. Depth and dimension mean higher prices for your finished project and a higher demand for your work because it's good quality. And so we utilize the wires. Anything you get from Kelea.com will be a higher quality. We try to have it just a little bit higher quality so it stands out and you're able to command a higher price. The neatest thing is they're much easier to work with when they have all these great wires. There's a couple of shorter ones. Let's use this shorter one in the back here. Okay, we got a lot of the greenery put up here to the front, and then we're going to put our next one. Oh, pretty. Make sure you're hitting that glue with the moss. Now let's look on the bottom part now. Move it up a little. And let's take our longest piece and kind of come in between these 2 right here. Push that into the grapevine, give it a little motion up. I love that. And then we'll go on the other two sides of this cluster. So we're leaving a little spot for the bow, but you don't have to if you don't want to. If you want to do no bow, remember, you're just going to shrink it all together. All right, she's looking good, y'all. Look at her beautiful flow. Now it's time to come in with our boho rose. That's going to add a bunch of color and really get a little bit more of that mauve color going. So this one cuts easily into 3 pieces. I'm going to do that right now. And depending on the length you want to use this in your piece, I can separate it again. So if we want more distribution, we can take and separate these into 2s also to kind of get a little bit more going around. If you really like this piece, you can always modify the recipe and you want more of this, just add 2 bushes to your supply list. So when you're going to look at a supply list at Kelea.com, you can modify, obviously you could be like, hey, I want more of the boho rose in there. Every supply list, guys, has links. And the cool thing is, then you can come in and watch the full video if you really want to make it. You can order the supplies from the quick video, but we've done all the hard work for you. We've done all of that. And when you're in design school, your supply lists are password protective. So you get first dibs to the new supplies and the new materials and kind of makes it exclusive to you. And that helps really set you apart. I'm gonna put this one here. So we're just adding in touches of that boho rose and the burgundy. And I've got one more piece we're gonna put in right here. This is a little bit longer one. Okay, let's just tuck that one in. There's a big grapevine here. I've got a lot of stuff there, but I think I can get it. Yes. And once again, utilize that beautiful wire in there. So look, it's so pretty. I love these. And these can go all year long. Okay, you can see our shape is coming together great. We've got a good flow going. We've left our bow zone open. So let's go ahead and tie the bow, and then we'll get it put in. And make it super easy. The 3-loop blows add a lot of movement to your piece, and so that's what we're going to do today. So I'm going to start off just by dovetailing this first cut, and you make that little V cut in the end. And I'm going to do about 24 inch tail just to get a lot of momentum. And then you can just take and twist your ribbon right here. Just hold it tight and twist. You get a nice strong twist, okay? And then hold that with 2 fingers. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to pull this out, and we're going to go ahead and make a couple of loops. And you want them to be kind of floppy and loopy. And I'm going to take and just pleat that up a little. This is 6 to 7 inches is good. That's kind of the sweet spot. Crease it and then, you know, kind of gather it, then twist it. Now I'm going to do another one. Now this is a beautiful bow itself right here. With the floppy type bow was trending. This is still wired, but you can keep a really natural bow if you wanted to stop here and just do 2 loops, 2 matching tails. Beautiful, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to twist and we're going to go for another loop. So just extend that ribbon out a little bit more, and we're going to go for a 3rd loop. So the reason we put the twists in is it helps the bow from coming apart. So you're going to have 2 on one side and 1 on the other with both tails coming out that side. Okay, so we started with a tail, then a loop, then the other 2 loops. Now let's cut this one just a little bit shorter. So I'm going to come in here and cut it. And we're ready to go ahead and tie this bow off. So come on in with your cable tie, and you can use a wire too. If you're going to do wire, 18 gauge is perfect for bows. 22 goes in the back. We're going to use cable tie so we can get it nice and tight, and then just kind of fluff it up before you're done tightening it. See, I can kind of manage my twist and see my tails coming down kind of asymmetrical. I love that. Now come in the back and add your cable tie back here. Just going to slide that under, and you're just going to get that really tight. Really tight. And that's why I like cable ties with like this jute ribbon, because they can get tighter than a wire. Okay, now take and let's fluff it out. Let's have these 2 kind of trail down together really pretty. And because this is wired, look how I can fluff it all up. All right, and then we'll be putting this in our wreath. The only thing you want to do is, if you don't have a flower to cover that center, the easiest piece of ribbon I put in there is I just cut my own. Just take and cut. Don't go too short, even though you don't need a lot. It's hard to manipulate it. So go about 10-12 inches, cut you a little strip. And I just fold it to the width I want it. And that also cleans up any rough edges, just like that, okay? Spray on that ribbon. Look how pretty, right in the center. Now come in and pop a couple of knots in. And there it is. Now it's time to put our bow on. And we left that little area open for the bow. So we'll just move this to the side, and we're gonna clip it right in with the cable tie. And I like the longer tail to go to the outside and the shorter tail to go to the inside. You can certainly play with that and do in a different way if you want to, but we're going to just run this cable tie through here and get it nice and tight. And then you just want to clip off that little bit of an end, and when you clip it off, you can get it just a little bit tighter usually. All right, great. Now I'm going to shape up the tail. I want this one to kind of run underneath. Isn't that pretty? And this one will run kind of this way. Now we're not quite done. We need to fill in a little of this area around the bow with our extra greenery and our a little bit of floral pieces we have left. So what I'm going to do with this white hydrangeas, like the one we have up there, is I'm going to use it right here at the bottom of the bow. So let's just take and give it a little bend, and we'll have it come out the bottom. And got a little glue on there, just push that right into here. And that little piece can just tuck in nicely into there and fill in kind of under the ribbon as it's kind of curling out. Oh, you know what? We never dovetailed the other tail, so we can do that now. And you can take and use the wires to do all kind of fun movements with this ribbon, scrunch it up. It's really fun. Now I'm going to take some of pieces of this greenery that we have left and take and shorten it up to little short clusters. So you just grab it, pull it a little bit short, and we're going to use the little short clusters in by the bow. So we're going to pop one up here. Love that one. Close. There we go. Kind of over to the side. How about one right in here too? So you're going to work your way around your wreath while you're doing this to kind of fill in those zones that need it and give them a little bend forward. Let's put one right here, and that kind of, in design school we call that breaking the plane. It breaks the plane of the other floral and gives that, once again, we're working on dimension when we're doing that. So that's why you don't want these shooting off just so far, but we want them tight into the to the base now. We're gonna come right here and layer that one on top. Y'all, if you love this kind of design, you want to learn more of how to make these own pieces for your home to make your home just gorgeous. We do centerpieces, swags, garlands, even some Christmas trees, tree toppers, all that fun stuff for every season of the year in our class. Come join us at KeleasDesignSchool.com. And we have step-by-step tutorials that are literally step-by-step, so you can watch them as many times as you want to be inspired to create your own project. All the projects have clickable supply lists, so you're able to come in and just make them exactly as pictured, or you can take the supply list and use it as reference. So for your next project you're going to make, maybe you're going to make it for a different season, so you want to use some different colors, but you have that guideline to go by. This is my last little piece, and I'm going to put it in right here. And y'all, we did it. We did it. This turned out just stunning. It is a gorgeous cottage wreath, beautiful muted color tone that you can use really all year long, but it is beautiful. You can use it in your home as well, you guys. On this wreath base, we're going to use these beautiful daisy pick. They're kind of a spray because they're larger. They have 3 pieces on here that you can easily take apart. It has a nice leaf in here as well as like a filler flower, and it has the main flower. So the combination of all that together really works. And this is going to be our brighter color pink, and we're going to use a couple of those in there. Now, this is something so fun. This is a new green berry we just got in, and it has a killer leaf. It's going to work like a greenery too because it's green, but also a filler flower. So that's going to pull out this beautiful green color that's in our main ribbon we're using. And you can see how pretty that combo is together. But together, we're going to mix these two, and that's going to pull out the pretty green and, of course, the pink. And in order to soften the pink and give it that cottage vibe that we're going for, then we're going to come in at the end with these mini roses. These are called boho roses. And they have like a little baby's breath in there too, which is a lot of fun to go together. So these will be our main pieces we're using for this wreath and our 2 ribbons. So we're going to get started in creating our base. Of course, you'd want to put your hanger on first, and we can insert the hanger video right here so you know how to put on the hanger, and you can put your own hanger on right on the top of your wreath, okay? And after your hanger's on, we're going to start off with these, and these are going to tear apart into sections. Now, when you get your supplies, no matter where you get them from, you always have to manipulate them because everything comes, you know, compact for shipping, and you've got to open it up. We call that shaking hands in design school, where we teach hundreds of students every week how to take and make floral designs on their own and learn the techniques so they can make beautiful pieces at designer level. So we've already done that with these. We've shaken hands with them. We've said, hello, nice to meet you. And then we're able to take and trim and clean these up. So with the last piece, I always like to cut it a little bit longer, and keep these 2 pieces shorter. Now, once you tear them off, you do have to clean up the little nasty edges because you will just be fighting going in. You will notice I do not use a pick machine. You will never see me use one. That's because I've been doing this 26 years, and a pick machine is good to use when you have really cheap florals that you need to have a good stem, and it's quick. But pick machines jam all the time. They also are very sharp and dangerous, and then you really don't want to use picks and wreaths anyway. So if you learn how to buy better supplies that have stronger bases and foundation, you can eliminate pick machines from your whole business, and then you have extra money to spend on other floral supplies because they're expensive and the maintenance of them never stops. So instead of getting frustrated with that, just learn from Kelea right now how to omit that and never have to use that. Now when you're trimming down these, make sure you keep these nice wires, guys. These are perfect for hangers, okay? So you can save these. You'll have to kind of either retape this with floral tape if you need a longer piece or trim it off But these are great wires for excellent hangers. And then if you do craft shows and you want to sell your wreaths there, make sure you put hangers on your wreaths, especially if you want to sell on Etsy, because customers need to know how to hang these things up when they arrive, because that box is going to come upside down and you are going to die the first time they put a review up of your wreath and they say, we love it, 5 stars, and it's upside down. You are going to, you know, I know this because it's happened to me. So I've learned, just go ahead and get that sign on, hanger on there so they know. Get the hanger on that wreath. Okay, we're going to start off with our shaping this out. The first thing you got to do on your design is decide where you want that bow. And for me, I'm going to put that bow low and to the left. That's my go-to position for my signature C-shaped wreath that I make. And that's one of my best sellers, so you're going to see me make this all the time. So we're going to start putting these in. Now, the other thing I don't have on my table yet I need to grab is my Spanish moss. So I'm going to use Spanish moss. This is our chartreuse color Spanish moss, found on Kelea.com. I use this to cover glue. So you never want to see your glue or your mechanics. So that's going to be a little bit out of camera, but I want you to know you're going to see me bringing it over in a second. So let's start to shape this up. So what we're going to do is I'm going to come over, load this with glue, come up high, and press that in. Oh, maybe press it in into the wreath, just like this, and start shaping up my design. I got to come over just a little bit here, a little bit more room. On that glue, you're going to go ahead and take and cover that right away. You just use the glue like a little sandwich between the wreath and the moss, and it helps create a stronger foundation for everything to go in. So we're going to start to shape this out. Every time you go in that glue pot, you want to hold that like a pencil, swirl it in, and start shaping out your base. Now in design school, we teach a lot about the principles of threes and shapes and lines. So you're going to see me doing some of that here today and bringing this together. But that way, when you learn the principles when you're in our class, you can use those for every season. You can start to develop your own designs using the principles that you learn. Like right now, we're rocking out patriotic. We have done Mother's Day. Of course, we did Easter earlier in the year. And we're always working ahead. So like we will be starting fall coming up in June and Halloween. So it's a great time to join our class so you don't miss any of the seasons. We have a portal set up at KeleasDesignSchool.com, and you guys can always go over there and check it out, take a look and see what it's about to sign up for our class. So I've got the top done. Now I'm working on the bottom. We're going to start putting these in. Don't forget, I've got to work on my shape. I've got to think about how I'm putting these in at each section and spacing them out. I'm going to work a little backwards right to where I'm going to put the bow. We call the bow the transition point area. Generally, sometimes we don't have bows in our pieces, and I'm a fan of that too. I like both. And some of the younger generation is no bows, and the West Coast isn't so in love with ribbon, but the East Coast still likes it. So it just depends on what's trending there, and those things can change quickly, of course, really quickly. So I'm going to put my final piece right down here. So I've kind of got a great shape starting. And basically I'm mirroring what I'm doing on the top and what I'm doing on the bottom. So I've got it shaped out. I'm going to push that in good, yes. And make sure these leaves are facing forward. That's one of my biggest pet peeves is leaves backwards. I hate when greenery won't stay forward. So I try to carry pieces that allow the leaves to be manipulative because they're wired. So that's the kind of products you're going to find on Kelea.com. All right, let me pull these off to the side, and we'll have our bow in just a minute, but I'm going to pull this off. So we're leaving that little section intentionally open because that's where the bow is going to be going eventually. Let me scoot our glue pot over and let's get a little bit more room here. Okay, now we're going to use these boho roses as our final filler pieces. So these will fill in at the end. So this is going to work as what we call a filler flower also, but a greenery because it's in the green family. But it's so cool that it has a berry on it. Now these are long and wispy, which you can do, and you can keep this very romantic and long and wispy, which will go great with the cottage theme. So in order to do that, I'm just going to cut off a few branches here. And you may not want to use all of these. It just depends. I'm a big twig girl, so I like a lot of dramatic twigs coming out, adding the dimension. You may have heard me say before, dimension means more money in your pocket when you're selling pieces, because you don't want to compete with the local big box store on wreath making. You want to be the next level, because in theory, if you can have a better quality piece you make, you'll be able to charge more, and eventually you don't have to sell as many wreaths. If they're priced right, you can make each piece, you know, a work of art. So let's start in with some of these longer pieces and shoot them right through the main sections of the wreath. So here's what we got so far, looking good. And I'm going to go right between there. That may be a little long, so if you feel like it's a little long, just take one little section off. Save that. We can use this in a minute. You can use all these pieces. You don't have to think you have to throw it away or something. No, we can save it. So I'm going to go right between. Very nice. Now I'm going to go up above to the top with this smaller piece. Now if you can't see the glue when you go in, you don't have to moss it. You're good. You can just let it go in. But if you can see the glue, you've got to cover it with moss. That's one of the things we don't want our mechanics showing ever. That's the detail part I was talking about earlier. You've got to pay attention to these details. So I'm going in my electric skillet. That's my glue pot that allows me not to pull triggers on glue guns. I don't pull triggers. I learned that lesson when I was younger. If you're going to sell thousands of wreaths, you cannot do thousands of trigger pulls. You just can't keep pulling and pulling that trigger, or you're going to end up having problems later. So you've got to make sure you use something like this electric skillet. So simple. So simple. And we have our favorite wreath making supplies link for you too on the blog. So if you need that link, let us know in the comments. We'll get back to you. And you can know exactly which one we use. Now, and when I'm doing high production and we are making wreaths to sell on Etsy, then we are using a larger skillet than this, because I like to be able to put big things in there. Okay, I want you to see the difference. See the top? You see the dramatic pieces we added? That's adding the really, the elegance. And you've got the dimension. And you see that movement? The movement is what catches people's eyes. So when that's on someone's door and the wind blows, it looks real because it's moving. So keep that in mind as you start to create your pieces. How can I add depth and dimension and movement? All of that is key to being able to have a piece that is a little bit higher level design. Okay, let's start with our longer piece kind of coming out right out of the middle, just like we did on the top. And we're going to come right through here. Beautiful. This one I'm going to run a little bit more in the background. I don't want these all in the background. Like, I want a few in the foreground, but I'm kind of working them around. And this one will be on the left. How cute are these? I'll put that one in there. Great. And then I need one more behind. And then what I'm going to do is I've got my little pieces we had a little while ago, and I'm going to save this one big piece. And we can kind of cut it down and use it to fill in spaces kind of more towards the front once we get our ribbon in. Okay, let's go behind the bow. And we'll bring that over here. Beautiful. And try to manipulate it where the leaves are forward if possible so you can see them. You can just rotate them around. Really pretty. Now, I've got a few pieces of the berries left. You want to hold on to those. That's something I teach, that we need to have pieces from the background work their way to the front. It's very important to not just cover things up, okay? So we've got a great shape started off. Look how pretty. Isn't this gorgeous? Look at this. This is so pretty. That's the top. There's the bottom. Excellent shape. And let's get our bow in next, and then we'll be working around that bow. So we're cable tying this on right in that section that we left open. We call that the bow zone. I'm going to pull that tight to the base in this case. And once it's on there, you can manipulate it around and shape. Oh my gosh, look how soft that's just so beautiful. That adds this lovely softness. Now I want to shape it up where it's going to flow down. And these tails are going to work in this little hole right here. Rotate that to the center a little bit. There we go. Now, make sure you have to be the boss of your tails. Like, you can't just put it in and be like, I'm good. No, that won't work. You have to get in here. You got to curl them up and then use those gorgeous wires. Oh my gosh, that's so cute in there. I love how this ribbon does that. It does that little ringlet. Yeah, you're so cute. All right, let's go down with those. Beautiful, beautiful. And so now what we're going to do, you want to grab those boho roses and we're going to soften all of this and we're going to work a little more to the center. So this bush is already sectioned out into 3 sections for you. So just go ahead and take them out like this and leave about 1 inch to 2 inch stem. And we can break them down more from here. So let's start in with one right above the bow. That's like an important space. We can really pop this pink. So I'm just getting, when you see me spinning, I'm getting rid of that glue string. I hate glue strings, but you can control it by spinning your glue on itself. Oh my gosh, see how that picks up? This baby's breath picks up the brown in the bow. Boom, that's pretty. Beautiful. So we're gonna use 2 pieces above the bow. This bush is killer because it is like, it fills in the holes in your piece like magic. And because they're all on one stem, it's really beautiful. See how pretty that rolled in? And you can take and manipulate these forward because they are nicely wired. Now my last piece is gonna go below the bow. So below the transition right in the middle, I'm gonna tuck that right tight to the bow. So make sure you pull those cool baby's breath forward because that's what's tying in that brown color. So when you're in design school, one of the nice things is I have supplies and projects planned out way months ahead of time, years ahead of time actually. So that way everything coordinates together and we try to teach trending styles and designs. That way your pieces will be able to sell for you if you're a seller. And we've got lots of people in the class though who do not sell, they just love creating. So don't feel like the pressure you have to be a seller to be in our class. It's fine if you aren't as well because some people just want to make their house beautiful and they've always wanted to learn these tips and tricks. So now we're going to take these berries that we have left and we're going to cut them down into cute little sections. So when I'm making cuts, I'm looking at the cut here. So that way I get a berry and a couple leaves and on a short stem. Okay, so you can't just go in there and start chopping or you're going to waste cuts. See how I'm cutting there? So that could be a berry and this could be its own little cute stem. So pay attention when you're doing your cuts and you're going in. So now we're going to use this like a little filler. It's going to go in any holes that we missed as we're going around. Or if there's spacing issues, like there's a little bit of a gap between one thing to another, this is where you're going to fill in with these. Okay, so I'm going to take the ones that are a little choppy that we cut up that aren't quite as cute. We've got one that's really cute because it's got the little leaves and the twig. So you save that for the end and you save this little berry one for the end. But you work these in and around the bow. So this wreath design, it's not hard. It's a great beginner design, really. She turned out beautiful. She's so... I'm going to go off to the side so that can pop out the side of that bow and fluff out this bow. Now I'm going to take this really cute one, cut this a little shorter, and we're going to go right into the middle of the bow. That's one of those detail zones you want to really think about when you're creating. Go right into the middle. Boom. I love you right there. You're beautiful. And then flip that leaf around. And then we got to get a little of this. Oh, yes. Beautiful. Now let's go down here to the bottom. I'm going to add a couple right here at the edge. Oh, this is so great. And when we do design school, I make sure that the wreaths, I generally make them standing on a wreath making board. And you get close-up view so you can get the great angles and seeing exactly how to create it. So on this design, we're going to start off with a smaller wreath base. Over the last few months, we've been exploring different wreath bases in design school and really made an effort to utilize smaller and larger. And one of the things we found is you kind of get a different look when you work with a small base. So today, instead of starting with a big base, we're going to work with a small one. But don't worry, it's going to be incredibly dramatic. And I think you're going to love that. So on our base here, we're going to start off with some greenery. And the greenery we want to use came in the greenery box subscription. This one has a nice variegation where it has that white and cream in there with all these great leaves. These are such a no-brainer because they're 3 greeneries mixed in one. And we love that. And we're going to use several of those. And we will have a supply list for this project. The supplies came from the subscription box, so some of them were exclusive to it and they won't be available, but some might be on the website that you may want to be able to find a substitution if you want to make this, but you'll at least know exactly what we used. Now, when we want to make something dramatic, we think of a dramatic greenery with a nice flow, and this eucalyptus bush does it. It's a beautiful muted, like light green, dark green combo, which works great with the pink colors we're going with. So we're going to take this and start to create our base layer, basically with the drama. On our wreath base here, you can see I'm going to work on the left-hand side, and we're going to start by putting some of this in hanging. Now, it hangs way, way down. I don't need it that far, but we're going to start to make some cuts here to trim that out. Let's do it. Let's cut down this bush to start off. So I just cut all of them off the stem as long as they'll go. And now I'm going to start to shape this out. And I'm going to take one of the longer pieces here, and we'll have that be our longest piece. I'm going to move her up on the wreath base for a second for you, so you can kind of see how far that's going down. I'm going to kind of go up into that mid-range, and we'll get some good amount of glue on there. And we're going to go right up in here. Now you're going to kind of create a waterfall or a cascade here. This type of wreath style has been kind of viral and trending, with a very dramatic line coming down far on the left. So I assure you, not only are we going to be cool for Bridgerton, but we're going to be cool for this year too. All right, here comes my next piece. I know this is my longest piece, so I want to kind of make sure I'm scattering them a bit. So I'm going to cut this off and leave it a little bit shorter. So you're going to take and have one piece that's got a small droop, and then one piece here, I dropped it, one piece that has a longer droop. All right, so I'm going to bring that in right beside here. So I'm starting to create my cluster. Just gently go in the glue skillet. Let's come off to the side, and we'll put that one in. Okay, so there's my first two pieces. Now this is the one that was super long, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this just into like 3/4 and 1/4. And we'll put this one along the outside. You can see how we're making a cluster. And you want to stagger it. Design school students, KDS Bloomerinos know that I'm not a fan of what we call matchy-matchy, and that means where the lines are matching. And that could be in symmetry. Even if I'm doing like a symmetrical placement on a piece, I don't like for it to be identical. I think it's just more natural looking. It's more the style I like to teach. Okay? Oh, look at those. It's so pretty. Now, we got a good cluster going. This one has a nice little strong base. So the ones that have a little bit stronger bases, I'm going to hold for a little bit. We're going to put these to the side, and we're going to grab our second bush, and we're going to continue to create the flow kind of working up the back here. Now, if you think about a horse's mane, when they have a long mane coming down, it kind of works up the back of their head, and it's long here, but it gets shorter. That's what we're going to do now. So grab your second bush, and we're going to work our way up. Take these, and I'm going to trim them all off again. So it does take a little bit of time to get this placement right. And in design school, we call this greening the base. So we're setting what we call the perimeter, and we're starting to create a base. All right, here's another super long piece, and we're going to trim that into a couple of sections. And the reason I'm doing these have a little bit of a stronger wire, and it's going to allow us to make that leap as we transition the other direction in a little bit. So we want to use the wimpy wires here on the back. You see how pretty this is? This is so pretty. Now, when we put our other greenery in a little bit, we're going to be able to kind of create a little bit of background support on here to help this stay forward. So sometimes our mechanics that we're working with and how we're designing, it has some structural elements to it, and it's not just all pretty, which I know is not exciting, But I'm teaching my students not only how to make beautiful things for themselves, but some of them want to learn how to sell their work and how to really work at a higher level so they can demand a higher price point for their work. They're not into making volume. They literally just want to make beautiful things, sell them, make some extra money for their family, and enjoy their hobby by selling too. And then when they're ready to scale, we've got them. We're ready to support them on that journey too, to help them make great quality floral designs that can sell at a little higher price point. All right, I'm trimming a next one down here. And now we're ready to start this little transition area. So anybody who's floppy, I'm using on the very ends of our design. So we're going to kind of come over to the other side now. So this is my left-hand side. We're looking good, nice and full and lush, and some of it's going out of the camera, but you see how pretty? Beautiful. Now we're going to come work on the right-hand side. So this for sure has to be the longest. Now on this side, we want it to be shorter. So let's get a starting point there. Now this is all freestyle today. I kind of have an idea of what I wanted. I'm being inspired by our subscription boxes, and they're perfect for those of you who just want to open the box and be like, everything I've got in this box goes together. I don't have to worry about if it's going to match something else. Kelea's curated it. I know it's going to be a winner. I promise you, it really, I try to make them one theme in the box, or if they have two themes, there's enough of each theme to make more than one project. So you're not going to feel like, what do I do with this? It's not a surprise box like that where it is a box that's a curated collection. The nice thing though, when you do get the subscription boxes, the cool thing is you are saving automatically 20% on the retail price when you are a subscriber. So that is a benefit. All right, I'm going to come up to the top and start to create my part that's going to droop at the top and do what we call a transition. We're going to transition direction so we can create a flow in our design, because it's really important to have a flow. Depending when you see this video, you definitely are going to have to come join us in design school, because we are always gearing up and very excited about our next seasonal workshop. And workshops are free for design school students. They do not pay an additional fee. And some workshops are exclusive only to design school. So it's an advantage to being a student. And of course, being a subscriber helps you learn how to work with these florals and be very confident in your placement, your direction, and your lines you're creating. It is all a process when it comes together. I think you're going to love it. Now, do you see my flow? This is gorgeous. Now, listen. If you want to make something just elegant and lush with floral, we could just finish this out, and this could be a beautiful just greenery. Of course, we're not stopping there, because we are going Bridgerton style. We're going next level. We're going up. We're going out. This is going to be fun, because I truly am loving the new season of Bridgerton. If you've never watched it, you might enjoy it too. It's got a lot of romance. It's a bit spicy, but that's fun too. And it's really interesting. I love how they use the music in Bridgerton, and how they use popular music in a classical form. It is awesome. I love that part. Okay, we're doing really good. And I'm using the parts with a little bit of the higher, heavier wire at that transition. I love that. Isn't this gorgeous? We've done an excellent job in here creating our greenery and getting it nice and full. We don't have to have it completely full. I'm going to leave a couple of pieces. Now, if you can see the glue, anytime I can see glue or I've got some spacing in there, I need to fill in. That's where I'm putting my moss. I'm big on using the moss for that. Now, you ready? We're going to start adding some of the other greenery to mix up the flow a little bit. But this is looking great. Beautiful, beautiful. Matter of fact, you could put a bow up there, and this is a viral trending design. Bonus, 2 for 1 in here. Okay, it's time to add this greenery. Now, this has a more traditional green and the cream, but I love the berry in there. It's a very delicate touch. And with this spray, it comes really pretty like this. This would be a great spray if you're going to do a Christmas tree that's going to be like that type of vibe, that Elizabethan. Man, this would be perfect because it's got the details and the pine and all this together. I love pine mixed with regular greenery. If you've never tried that in a wreath, do it. It's excellent. And we're talking nice pine. Don't be using, some cheap. This is nice, long needle, beautiful. Like you just went and got it off your pine tree, but you didn't. All right, we're going to shake hands with each piece before we put it in, and we're going to start to get our placement. So that means I'm going to shape it out. All of these are wired to the tip, so I always want to use all of that to my advantage. Now I'm going to come right in here to where we were changing direction, and we're going to start to add some of these. Now, I talked earlier about how we are going to use these to create we're going to use them actually for some stabilization of this greenery so it doesn't roll on the back. So the reason we do that, a lot of times we do that with florals, is so we can kind of stabilize our design and it gives a really polished, finished look. And that's what we're going to do right here. So I'm going to put my first one in, I'm going to come down. So we're going to kind of work the perimeter. And I'm coming out a little bit more, but I'm staying in the background right behind the beautiful eucalyptus to start off with. And I gotta shake hands with all these. These are so nicely wired. I love that. So if you have been watching the Bridgerton series, if you have seen some of it, tell me if you liked it. Or if it's just too racy, tell me. Oh, Kelea. Can't believe you like that. Oh, y'all. I do. I'm all into dear gentle readers. Woo! It's fun in the thinking of all the things back in the day that would have ruined your reputation or your family and all of that stuff. It's really fun. I want to just tear down this next stem, so you can just gently tear these off and just get started. We're going to shake this right up. Now, I've never read the books, but I'm kind of thinking I might just need to get the books, at least on tape, because then I could listen to them when I'm creating. I say on tape, audiobooks. Lord, I'm dating myself. Do you find yourself doing that now? I mean, you might be very young, but I say things now that I'm like, cringe, to use a word kids used to word. I don't even know what kids use words now. I don't even know. I have a 14-year-old, and all she does is just cringe at her mama. What are you doing now, Mom? Matter of fact, we filmed a promo for this video 3 times because she was like, Mom, I have to help you. Like, you need some help on your TikToks. Yeah, you talk about cringe. What are you going to make me do now, child? But see how pretty these are mixing together, and we're getting a nice fullness in there. And I love that these have the lighter colors, but they also have the white. I think that's pulling in a lot of, it's helping us create a little bit more depth. And I'm going to bring this one down a little on the outside. And we're just creating a beautiful shape. Now, when we get ready to do the floral in a minute, you can decide how you want to do your own floral. There's all kind of different techniques for that. But today we're going to use a little bit of what we call a cluster method, where we're going to kind of keep like florals together. So that method works more like a garden does. So when a garden's growing, a plant grows from one area, okay? So that's what we're going to do when we get ready to do our florals in here too. They're going to kind of originate from one area for some respect for the flowers. But for the berries, we're going to let the berries be that almost like the weed in the garden that's like, yeah, I'm beautiful, I'm taking over. Kind of like Penelope in the latest season. Kind of. All right, let me grab one more piece of greenery. I'm going to use one more in here, but I want you to see how we're doing. We're really filling. See how beautiful? I mean, we are lushing it up. I told you this is going to be pretty. I mean, I'm jaded. I think everything I make's pretty. But this is going to be my style. And pretty. Y'all, you know how I love the garden. So anytime we make anything that feels like a garden, I'm happy. I'm happy. Okay, I'm going to take and just flip these out. See right there? And I'm shaping it all out. And this one's going to go more to the inside and stay in the center of this base. Now, one of the reasons we really like using that smaller base is because of the type of greenery I'm using. It's going to help hold its shape really, really well on the drapey greenery. Because it's got the grapevine behind it, and now I've got the greenery behind it. Oh, yeah. Oh, I got it a bit too far down. All right, come here, buddy. So this one's coming out a little bit farther than I want. And if that happens, just come in, and we can take that part of the stem off, and we can leave this a little bit. I can thin those out, and we can bring that back in a little bit to another part in the wreath. Okay, flower time. So we're going to do our main flowers first. And for us, that's going to be the roses. Now, these roses are beautiful. I love the rose heads. They do have a bit of a kind of like olivey greenery that is not going to go with our color palette. So never fear, just take these off. I'm going to take the leaves off just like a florist would do. A lot of times the florist is going to take off the leaf of a rose, especially for different reasons than we are. But a lot of times leaves can cause confusion to the eye and make it look, your final project look messy. So if you feel like there's just too much going on, you might just have to take the leaves off your bush. Okay, now we're going to trim these all down a little bit, and the next thing I'll do is I'll just trim off those little pieces where the leaves were so nobody's going to know. Nobody's going to know when we cut off these little pieces that we took the leaves off, okay? And then these just look like little thorns on the leaves. You can trim these off of here, like here, and you are good to go. Now, I talked earlier about, Bridgerton being spicy, so our wreath is going to be spicy, and how I want this design to kind of, the florals are going to come from one direction, or not necessarily one direction, but from one area in the design. So we created this gorgeous base already with our greenery, and now it's time for our roses, which are our primary pop of color. So I don't want the stems to be too long, but I do want about 6-inch stems on these, because I want to be able to work them coming in and out of our design. Now remember, all of this came in our BBBB subscription box. That was in the springtime, where we had a lot of the springtime colors. But I hadn't worked with it yet, and I was so inspired by the Bridgerton and the beautiful flowers and the lush fabrics and jewels and all that stuff that I just knew we got to get in here and play with these. So I'm going to start with these first. And when I say they come out in one area, for us, we're not using a bow on this design. So they're going to kind of come out of where our bow would be. So we're going to take our first one and put it in and start to build up a little cluster here. I gave that a little swirl in my glue pot, and I'm going to bring my first piece in. Tip time, tip time, tip time. So when I'm using Spanish moss, a lot of people will say Spanish moss so messy. It's so, it crumbles, but you just use a little bit at a time the way we use it. I just make it into a little bitty ball like this. And now it goes in to cover my glue, my mechanics, and go into that section of the wreath to kind of make a little glue sandwich in there to hold it in place. So don't think it's messy and all that, because you just need a little bit of Spanish moss. All right, our first rose is in, and I'm going to work from that point kind of backwards, and we'll have a good assortment of roses working back in here. Some we might have come out a little more, some we might keep a little tighter to the base, but I'm going for a total romantic vibe here as I put them all in. Okay, so yeah, feel the romance. I'm going to bring this one kind of behind a little bit of that greenery we put in. All right, so I've really taken my time here and made sure that each of these is at a little bit of different height or depth per se as they go in. Here comes this piece, and so I'm making sure I'm giving it some motion by giving it a curve. Now, if you've never used any of those techniques when designing, you've got to play with that. The joys of creating with artificial flowers are that you have the ability to do that and utilize these great wires in there. Okay, that's great for my roses at the top. Now I want to bring in roses to the bottom. And if you want to kind of, they call this reflexing the petals when you bring the petals backwards on real roses, but we can still do that a little bit on our artificial. We can open them up and reflex them per se. So I'm going to do that on a few of these too as we bring them in. And they have a little bit more of like a lavender kind of throat inside here. I love that. So now I'm going to come on the other side of our transition. And you can learn all about transition and positioning in design school. But we're going to work our way down. And we're going to work our way down. And I want to really have that beautiful cascade working for me. Now on here I have a little bit of that rose leaf left that I wanted to cut off. So I'm taking those off because I want to stick with this muted color background that we've got going instead of this. This one had a little bit of a olive green, and I don't really want the olive green here. Now, there's not going to be a lot of roses kind of trailing down, just a little. So I'm just going to have one right here. They're kind of trailing down. Beautiful. And then I'm going to work on either side of that one. Kind of get this nice spacing in there. And don't worry, we have a little bit of greenery saved where we're going to be able to accentuate the roses with some greenery around it too. We saved a couple of pieces. I'm going to put that piece in there. I love it. And then let's put our last rose right here at the center so we get a nice cluster right at the center. You see what a pretty color combo this is? This is pretty. Make this rose kind of tight in here. Get in there, buddy. I want to feel the romance. Yes. Let me show you up close. You can see how pretty that is going in there. Look at that. And look at this dimension. Oh my gosh. See the movement? So pretty. Hey, if you're not feeling romantic yet, come on. Get with it. We're having fun with flowers and feel the romance. I do. All right, left from our subscription boxes are berries. And these are going to add the wispiness and the drama. And we have some tulips too that really will add that drama right to the florals in here. So with these guys, I'm going to go ahead and cut this bush down to where each cluster is just cut into separate pieces. So when you pull them off like this, you'll have just one cut cuts all three at once. And that's fine because we don't need these really long. So I'm just going to trim them off here. Now sometimes when I want to have a lot of length, I'll cut them longer, but in this case we already have the length being created by the cascade of the eucalyptus, so we don't need more. All right, bring you down just a little bit. Oh my gosh, so pretty. All right, let's start with our longest pieces first, and we'll work from them backward. So come on in, and these have this beautiful corally pink that goes right with our roses, and that's another reason you want to get the subscription boxes, because it takes all the thought out of it for you. You know what comes in there is going to be the perfect combination. All right, and I'm going to use this one, just kind of coming down on the opposite side. And these bring a little bit of the brighter green in their leaves that's also on the greenery stems we put in. And I'm going to reinforce our shape just from here down. So we always hear talk about lines and direction in design school, and that's really, really important here too. Oh my gosh, look at this. So if you're watching and you've been watching Bridgerton, tell me who your favorite character is. Of course, I don't want to have any spoilers, depending what season you're on. But tell me in the comments who your favorite character is. I think it's a lot of fun. Okay, there's that. Now let's work above. Let's work above. How about one way to the outside up here, going up high? That's gonna be so pretty. This stuff gets me so excited, and I love to work. Just, you know, I'm hoping that people can just get inspired by beautiful florals. There was a time when people just loved that in their home, and I know artificial florals are different than fresh florals, but they certainly can bring that beauty into your home as well, into your space, no matter the season or the weather. And learning how to work with them is so fun. It's quite a bit different than making other types of wreaths. Working with floral wreaths is, I don't know, it's like gardening to me, except I don't have to wait for the blooms. I don't have to tend to it quite as much to get the outcome. We just get the gorgeous outcome right here. All right, I'm gonna put one more in the middle. I think this will be pretty right here. Just kind of popping out there, and I'm gonna kind of bend it the other way. So pretty. And then let's have one kind of come through the middle. I like to break up the florals a little bit with some dimension here, working above them. Yes, and you go up, buddy. That's just so lush and beautiful. And the fact we're using a very trending viral greenery style, I think, is a lot of fun when we create this whole finished look. That you can create that as a base, but layer right on top of it. All right, and that one's gonna come in. So I'm done with my twig. That looks stunning in there already. Now, I wanna take my tulips, and these are what you call real touch tulips. I love to use tulips to create some depth. So I'm gonna undo this bundle, and then they're all gonna be individual, and we'll start to put them in. And these guys are gonna grow right out of the center here. And they're not gonna be all around like the berries. They're gonna be more in the center. So I'm gonna take and start to put them in. I love tulips. They can really move around for you, and they're just a pretty little flower. I would so grow them if they would grow good here. I don't know if we just need more cold or what. I just buy them. I buy them blooming and enjoy them. My first one, I'm going to put one more right here, coming out of the center. Get in here. Yeah, get in there. Look how pretty that is. Aren't you loving this? I'm just using them in twos, and I'm kind of staggering them a little bit. I think they add a really nice dimension, and this is just so lush and pretty. So I would encourage you to try out our subscription boxes. They will be changing for each season. So you might see this video who knows when, because of I'm inspiring you with the series Bridgerton. But every month the boxes change, and they are like to get you ahead for the next season, and that is what is a lot of fun. All right, I'm gonna put these last three kind of working from the bottom out. So I'm gonna make a little cluster with them, and then we'll put those in the bottom. So once we come off the spring boxes, we go into summer colors, and then we work into fall, and of course, then at Christmas time and winter. It is truly so much fun to make these boxes each season and fill them with things that are that go together, and they just take that mystery out of designing your own project. And a lot of times you can get several projects. And in here, we also use some of the greenery subscription. And the greenery is the same thing. The greenery will coordinate with the box each month, but I have a lot of people who get one or the other box. But then the people who get both are really super satisfied because they know all of that's going to work together every month. All right, we are just about done. My last step is I like to soften the lines a little bit of the harshness of the florals. So I'm going to take some of the greenery we already have in there, and we're just going to kind of reinforce the shape, work the perimeter, and then break the plane a little bit of some of the other florals. So I'm going to start right here. I know I want to work this out a little bit more here. And we'll fill this one in. There's a lot in this little transition area, so you can see how pretty that is. Now kind of help that sit up. I'm going to come back to the top with this piece too. I'm going to shape it up just like we did the others. And this one I'm going to layer up there between those two twigs we put in. So you can kind of see how I take the last couple of pieces of greenery and I'll fill in any holes. I'll look at my finished design and see where else do I need to add some depth. And now I'm going to take the little bit of the eucalyptus that we have left, and we're going to use that kind of a little bit more to the foreground. So I'm going to kind of let it come forward. Now make sure you're not going backward in the wreath. Like, don't shove it through the grapevine backward. Do not shove anything into your grapevine, please. We're going up and in, and these have that nice strong stem, so they're perfect to use in this particular application, so they can sit up really, really pretty. You see how pretty? Oh my gosh, look at that one. Excellent. And here's our last piece that I'll use up there at the top. And when I'm putting those in the glue skillet, I'm just holding this so I don't dribble the hay part in my design. So if you have been wondering how to get inspired by something to create your next project, sometimes it might be the unexpected. It could be a Netflix series you really love watching. So I can't wait for you to create something just like this. Grab our subscription boxes. They're the easiest way to have supplies that go together each and every month. And there is no term commitment. You can subscribe and you can cancel anytime. This is an example of using a BBB box and a greenery box in one project to make an extravagant, beautiful wreath. All right, Bloomerinos, I will see you next time, and you have fun with flowers. Bye, everybody. Hey, Bloomerinos, it's Kelea with Keleas.com, y'all, KELEAS.com. I'm so glad you're here. This afternoon, we are rocking out a fun swag, and this one is set up. You can buy it as a kit or the supply list, depending what's available. So we'll let you know what we've got in the links below or up in our link tree. You can check it all out. Today we're starting with a base that's already built like this, and I'm going to show you what a gorgeous base it's on. It's all made of angel vine, and do you notice how the berries go from red to like a rust to an orange? It's just a beautiful color combination, and we're going to add a few things to this to make it super special. But the first thing we're going to do before we build up our swag is we're going to add the bow to the top. So it comes with a hanger ready to go, and we're going to add our own bow. So these types of projects are really great for beginners or those who just need some really simple pieces to help fill up their Etsy shops or get their homes decorated in a snap, you know, for the holidays. So welcome everybody. I'm Kelea with Keleas.com. I'm glad you're here. Please like, subscribe, follow, share, do all the things so you won't ever miss a video. And we also would love for you to be on our text list at 832-734-5201. Text us the word live and we can get you on our Discord server, and you can never miss another video or new supply or new trick, tip, all the things. So you can see here, I'm going to be using this 1.5 inch ribbon that's got all the beautiful fall colors in it. And I want it to be coming out longer than the swag. So just bring the swag over, measure out, go a little bit longer just for good measure, literally, so we have extra if we need it. So I've done that, and that makes it probably about 26 inches long. Come to the center, and we're going to make just a really simple bow here. I'm going to bring these loops out to pretty big, 6.5. 6.5 in twists. And let's go on the other side, 6.5 and twist. And you can hold this in your hand right here in the middle to make the bow. I find it a little bit easier to use a bow maker, but whatever you prefer is totally fine. All right, and I'm going all the way around with 3 loops on each side because we want to make this bow nice and full for our design. Let's do that on every side, and I'm going to separate them out. Bring those tails down, and I'm just going to alternate the cuts so they make a nice little chevron when you put them together. You could also dovetail that if you wanted to, but that's where you get the look, where the tails are alternating. Now we're going to put our second layer of ribbons in, and this one is going to be a little bit shorter. I'm going to go at, we were at 6.5, let's just go at 5. Let's go shorter. And now I'm going to make this tail about 6 inches shorter, okay? So a little bit more dramatic of a decrease in size. So 5.5 right here, come in and twist. Or you could go 5 too if you wanted to go even in a little bit more. Either one's fine. You just want to kind of bring your eye into the center of the bow and twist that around. And we're going to put 2 on each side. Make sure you hold it tight. We do in-depth bow training every week. So you can go back and catch one of our replays here. Wherever you're enjoying this video, we'll have replays available for you. Or definitely check out our blog on Keleas.com. Okay, let's come in with just a bow tie in the center. And what that is a little loop. And basically I'm choosing that because I don't want tails coming down. I want a kind of a clean, just a few tails coming in the center. So I crisscross these ribbons over, then bring that, scrunch it up, and we'll put that right down the middle. Super duper cutie. Love it. So we've made a blast off bow. That's 3 loops, 2 loops, 1 loop. And now I'm going to get a little section to use for the center. And you're still going to have some more ribbon for another project, guys. Whatever you prefer to make next. Now let's come in with our cute little cable ties. These are just clear. They're not so cutesy. I need some jazzy ones. All right, come down the middle. We're going to pull it off the bow maker just like that. Now, rotate this behind as you fluff it up, okay? Fluff it up and section these out. You guys, if you want to learn how to floral design, of course we do easy projects like the one we're doing today, but you want to learn the principles and how to make the swag from scratch and how to put colors together and textures and all that. That's something we teach in our design school course, and it opens up twice a year. So depending when you're watching this video, you need to get on the wait list. When class opens up, we will let you know. You can grab a spot at KeleasDesignSchool.com. And remember, that's Keleas. Alrighty, I got the cable tie on. I put that one in the back. That's how we're going to attach it to the swag. But I've got to cover up our little plastic center because we don't want to see that. So I just take and fold this on itself. And we'll run that right down the middle. You can make that fat or skinny, whatever you prefer, going down the middle. And then you are ready to take and put a couple of knots in there in the back if you can. If not, 1 will work. This 2 is a little bit safer. You don't have to worry about ever being naked in the middle. We don't want to see that cable tie showing. Okay, so there's our gorgeous bow, and that's kind of the most trickiest part of the whole project. Probably takes the longest part. Now I showed you the swag, and I'm going to show you the pick. Then we've got a surprise thing coming for the end. So I've got to keep you teased till the end. All right, so wherever we leave space for a bow, I like to call it the bow zone. And the bow zone is right in here. So that's a term you'll hear me use off and on. Now, you see I have this pink and green floral over here, and I have it over here. I'd really like to alternate that. So I'm going to move the little pine, no, it's not a pine, it's kind of like a fun little fern type pick, and move this across from it. So these will be opposite. Just bring this in, just run this right down, and leave some room for the bow zone, and then just bring this piece over, okay? So that's called shaking hands with a pick, evaluating how things are. The difference between just shoving it in and not paying attention to that and making every piece have its actual place means the difference in the price points you can charge for your work later, or the detail that you put into your work when you are decorating your own home with it, or the office you're decorating, or what project you're doing. You're paying attention to the placement of the berries, the greenery, the picks. I'm not just shoving things in. So I took a cable tie and I tied that on through there, and I've got all these beautiful pieces in here, and they're just a mirror image of what we've got going on down there. So, but we still left our bow zone, and this is smaller, and that's fine. That's kind of the look we're going for. So now I'm going to pop in the bow. You're going to see how easy this is. Look at this. You made this swag. Boom. Boom. Oh my gosh. So I'm going to run this through the angel vine. That's what the base is called that the whole swag is made on. I'm going to run that through and tighten that cable tie up right here. And then we'll slide it around, and we're going to manipulate the tails. And then I told you about our little surprise piece coming up. I am going to show you that one and show you how fun this is to add on. This has such a natural nature vibe to it with the berries and the beautiful colors. Wait till you see what we're going to pop in. Well, sugar. That was Kelea pulling out the front loop. Never feel, I'll glue it in. So that's my little, that was my loop in the center of the bow. And because I yanked on it, I pulled it out. So just be careful. I forget I can't do that with a bow tie. No. That's okay. You can glue it back. And I'm going to rotate this around because I'm trying to get the bow to the center. Now, with the longer tails, I like the really long tails going kind of behind the berries. So bring the two shorter tails up. And I'm going to bring the longer tails just tucking along the edge here, okay? And that kind of gives it a nice little figure. Gives this baby some hips. Her little hips are popping out. She's looking good on your door. Okay, let's bring this one over too. Okay, now the shorter tails, they're going to run up front. And you can see what a great flow you have going down with both the textures. Now I'm going to curl this up and let the others hang straight on the sides, and that one will curl up. Now, are you ready for the surprise? Boy, I say that 3 times fast. That's a hard one. Surprise! Okay, there's our gorgeous swag, and watch. Look what we're going to add. We have the coolest, I got to scoot this over a little bit more to the middle. The coolest twig that I think is going to look so fun in here, and I want to show you. Look at it. It is a butterfly on the coolest bumpy twig, and we're going to use these in here like the butterflies have located the manna from heaven. So I'm going to break this down. We're going to be gluing this into different sections. So this is kind of like a little bonus trick here where we can take some pieces and add them in to add more depth and dimension. And that is something I love to do. My design school students, if you're here watching or you're watching on the replay, let everybody know how we feel about depth and dimension and how you feel about it and how important it is in the structure of our work. So I totally took all the butterflies off, and we're going to start to place them into a piece, okay, and start to add them in. I'm going to bring this down, and I'm going to use this big piece that has several butterflies, and we're going to shake hands with them. And this one's going to come up here at the top, and I'm going to put it coming out of some of the berries. So I'm going into my glue pot here. We're just going to tuck it in. And I'm going to make sure it just kind of hides behind the bow right there. Perfect. And then we can spread these little guys out. I think a smaller butterfly would look great, like right there. And then we can just manipulate these however, where we want them to go. Look how fun that is already at the top. Oh my gosh. So fun. Now let's come to the bottom. Let's work some more of the bottom. And it's so nice that this already has a hanger built in. You don't even have to worry about how you're hanging it. Putting on a hanger, you don't have to do any of that. Now, when I ship this out to my customer, I'm going to be boxing it up from behind where it can tie it in because it's on that nice angel vine base. Okay, so these are a little bigger. Let's have some of these kind of come out in between all of these berries, and I'm going to glue into the base of the vine. Oh, that's so pretty. And just let these guys fly out like they're all around. Let's come down a little bit lower. I've got 4 for the bottom, so I'll just bring one over here and then keep going down. I'm just looking at my sizing so we don't have, it looks like there's a big one with a little one. So we'll just have nice movement all the way down. Isn't this beautiful on your porch with some gorgeous pumpkins? You can pick up a couple extra of the butterfly sprays if you want to add them in with your fall decor. because they are just a beautiful, beautiful color. And they match so perfectly. Let's bring that down. And you can have them out or more in, either way. Oh my gosh, this looks so good. Okay, let's bring this one down, and then I'm gonna have one for the very bottom. So I'm getting in there to the angel vine and pushing him in. So I know a lot of times we're doing really complicated projects with many steps and directions, and we're teaching really high level things in design school, but sometimes it's fun to make something as simple as this one, guys. Simple and just beautiful. Beautiful and easy. So no matter how busy your schedule is, you can take a little time to floral design something just like this with us. Oh my gosh, y'all, I love it, Blue Merinos. It turned out stunning. So check out the finishes images when you're all done, and you can see it hanging and how you could visualize this in your own space. Boy, I can't wait to see what you guys make. Y'all have fun with flowers, and I will see you next time. Bye, Blue Merinos.